It's a bit past 7 o'clock, so let's start with our monthly meetup. Welcome to BlockchainLab Drenthe. My name is Adrie Wisman, and I will be hosting this live stream tonight. You are here at the Blockchain Lab. Let me do a small introduction about who we are for people who haven't been here before. BlockchainLab Drenthe is a non-profit foundation which has a goal to spread experience, knowledge and insights about distributed ledger technology in general and blockchain to be more specific. And we ourselves develop applications, do feasibility studies, audits. We lecture blockchain at our local University of Applied Sciences. And we are heavily invested in Interreg Project Bling. You saw their name here. And Interreg Project Bling is a European project with 6 North Sea regions, 6 countries and 14 partners, which develop pilots for public services, public service applications on the blockchain. And those partners you can think of are the University of Gothenburg, University of Oldenburg, Edinburgh, Ho-West, but also City Groningen, Municipality Emmen, City of Roeselare, Antwerpen, Ghent, etc. They work together and benefit from each other's experiences and knowledge. Let me get my next slide. I have to start with a service announcement. And that service announcement is as follows. You can see me and hear me, I hope, and in high quality. Otherwise, you'll have to use the cogwheel down there to pump up your resolution. But I cannot hear you. But we can communicate. You'll have to use the chat box of YouTube, right? So please log in. YouTube is a Google company. So unfortunately, you'll have to use your login and password to connect to YouTube because they will not allow anonymous people to use their service. And please tell us who you are and where you're from. We love to hear that. If you have any questions about the topics that are here introduced this evening, then please put them in the chat. If you have any other remark, then please use the chat also. Now, after this meetup, we're going to go for an informal meeting at this web address, at Kumo Space. And Kumo Space is a little bit different than what you're used to. If you meet people online through Teams or Skype or Zoom or whatever, one person can talk and the rest has to listen. In Kumo Space, that's different. You can walk around this room and you can stand next to somebody and start to chat, and only they will hear you. Only who is in the near vicinity of you can talk to you, and you will not disturb the rest. I will put the link to this later on the screen, so if you want to join us later on, please do. Then our next monthly meetup will be on March 17th. So already put a mark in on your calendar. And these are the 3 topics that we're going to cover this evening. So I will be the first speaker, and I will talk to you about what's going on in the blockchain space. And tonight there will be a lot of time spent on scams and people getting caught and Monero. So it'll okay. Then after me, the second speaker will be Peter Lagala from Fluid Density. That's a very special startup which combines physical art with NFTs. And he's going to talk about what you really own when you buy an NFT, right? He's been in that space for a long time. So if there's somebody who knows, he does. Then the third speaker will be Jeroen Wester, and he will be talking about DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. So if you always wanted to know down 15%. So a small uptick, but that's been a lot of different during the month. We'll see in a moment. The total market cap went a little bit down, right? So it was so many billions, and now is it so many billions. So the total value of all coins together went down 1.7%, and that results, Bitcoin going up a little and total coins going down, that the dominance of Bitcoin went from 40% to 42%. They got a little bit more weight in the market, but nothing very ridiculous. Price movement wasn't very big. Now you can see at the end we are a little bit in the plus, but people haven't been very happy during this month. They've been most of the time they've been in the red. Prices went around $35,000, and that was a small disaster because a lot of people who bought bitcoins in the last few months were at a loss and had to liquidate, and that's bad news. Now at the last meetup, the Bitcoin was outperforming Ethereum, the blue line, a lot, but this time it is still outperforming Ethereum, but a little bit. You can see the price movement has been nearly synchronous, but Bitcoin is up 2% and Ethereum is down 2 or 3%. Nothing very significant. Let's start with a little bit of the good news. In the Bitcoin mining industry, we all know there has been this talk about loss of energy and very poor efficiency of using energy for Bitcoin mining. Now, this firm in the Netherlands combined flowers with Bitcoin mining and uses the heat from the Bitcoin miner to heat his greenhouse where the flowers are grown. All right, so he uses the residue of heat, the energy that comes up from the miner, to make his energy bill smaller, which is a good thing, of course, right? So today, this is from this afternoon, we got a pretty positive news on the international side about Holland, because we do something special in our greenhouses. Now everybody thinks in the world that we take our skates to go to work and we use our miners to heat up our greenhouses. That's not the case. Just warning. And here the stuff about the scam already starts. This is a memo from the Department of Justice in the United States of last week, where 2 people got arrested for trying to launder $4.5 billion US. Now, billions and trillions and etc. work a little bit different in the English language, so I put the amount in numbers there, but it's still a very big number, $4.5 billion. They tried to launder it. Now it is very difficult to move large amounts, large sums like this. So that's where everything went south. Here you have Mr. and Mrs. Liechtenstein. Those are the people who were caught, who are in jail at the moment. They are charged with laundering $4.5 billion US. Now, these dollars, these bitcoins to be precise, were stolen in 2016 when Bitfinex was cracked. They stole the money, the bitcoins, in 20 minutes inside of 2 blocks, 2 Bitcoin blockchain blocks. They took out, let me be precise, we don't know if they did it. They are not charged with stealing the coins. They are just charged with having those coins in their possession and doing things to launder them. This couple, 34 years and 31 years old, have been arrested because the Department of Justice has been hunting them down since 2016, right? And that's what I always say, stealing crypto money is relatively easy if the securities is not very good, but enjoying the money, right? Taking it out to buy some nice things, that is very, very hard. So that's what happened here. They had these 4.5 billion US dollars sitting in more than 2,000 wallets, and they were living a normal life. They were not going buying private jets and Lamborghinis. They did what they had to do. They just lived in a $1 million apartment, Manhattan. And did what other couples do. Well, not really, but she was a rapper. Please don't look in YouTube at her music because it will make your ears bleed. But there was nothing special. But still, the Department of Justice put some technology in to find them because they made a very large organization, right? More than 2,000 wallets and laundering money through Monero and tumblers, etc. But still, the Department of Justice was able to cluster the activities and finally find them. And here comes the special part. They recovered of 12,000 or 120,000 bitcoins. 120,000 it was, I believe. They recovered 96,000. So 3.5 billion US dollars was recovered. And now you and I will, of course, ask the question, how did they do that? Because if you don't have the private key of somebody, you cannot take away the coins, right? That's where this couple made a big mistake. They had a big spreadsheet with 2,000 wallet addresses and 2,000 private keys, and they stored that in the cloud on, let's say, a Google Drive. And the Department of Justice went to the company where that information was, on which server that was, and asked to see that information, retrieve the private keys, and take out all the bitcoins at once before Ilya and Heather had the chance to transfer them somewhere else, far beyond the reach of the Department of Justice. Right, so they didn't live a very big lifestyle. They paid some Uber rides with it, and they bought some Walmart gift cards, etc. Because as soon as you start spending big, you will be noticeable for the rest of the world. But this was a very big scam, 4.6 billion. At the time, when these bitcoins were taken out of Bitfinex, they were only valued at 71 million, right? There are weeks that I don't find 71 billion in the street. Don't get me wrong. But 71 million versus 4.6 billion is quite a difference, right? Now, they are not charged with doing the crack and the security crack of Bitfinex because they could have also bought these 4.6 billion of bitcoins from somebody else. Maybe they paid a few hundred million to receive all these coins. They cannot be charged with that because there's no evidence yet. Now, the company who helped the Department of Justice, Chainalysis, did a very good job. And they also, the same company, put out a report 2 days ago, where you can see they analyzed the chain, and they saw that 74% of all stolen funds when ransomware is in the case is from Russian origin. So all these bitcoins from ransomware, all 74% of them go to Russia. There are organizations which use ransomware to get rich. Now, these crooks are sweating a little because we all know how decentralized blockchains work, and we all know, probably know, what a 51% attack is. That when you own 51% of the miners, then you can manipulate the chain and do double spending, etc. Now, most of these crooks use privacy coins. Privacy coins like Zcash, Dash, and Monero. Monero is very famous for obtaining privacy, keeping privacy for the users of their network. But in the last week, there is one large party that is obtaining nearly 51% of all the Monero miners. So now the crooks are sweating that their money could be stolen by other crooks, right? So they are mitigating the risk and setting up new miners to get this percentage down under 50, let's say 45%. So the double spend problem will be gone. Here is one of the many articles of the last weeks about Russia. Russia is not only in the news because of Ukraine, but Russia is a lot in the news because of Bitcoin and miners, etc. 2 weeks ago, Russia banned or was trying to ban mining activities. The central bank said it was too risky, said it took too much energy. Then Mr. Putin stepped in and said, no, we want to have a mining industry. We are the third party, the third on the list of biggest mining countries in the world. The first country is the US with 35% of all mining capacity. After that, it's Kazakhstan, still, right? Because it was China, but when China banned mining, all these people went over to Kazakhstan, and now Kazakhstan is shutting down the internet, etc. So Kazakhstan is still at number 2, but at number 3, there's Russia, with 11% of all the mining capacity in the world. So Putin stepped in and said, no, we don't want that. We want to preserve the mining industry. And they started to take back their big words about banning Bitcoin. And they even took the decision to have Bitcoin be recognized as a foreign currency. So it's not legal tender in Russia, like in El Salvador or whatever, but it's the next best thing, so to speak. So you are allowed to have it in a bank account. You are allowed to trade, not peer-to-peer. It always has to be traded through an exchange, right? And even when you trade through an exchange, transactions over 600,000 rubles, that's roughly $8,000, have to be reported to the government, right? Big Brother is watching you, and they're not using the guys from Chainalysis because that's an American company, so they have their own Chainalysis by Rosfin. They are looking at you because when you trade the Bitcoins peer-to-peer with your neighbor, you could be fined a large fine. So you better not think about that. But they are recognizing Bitcoin as any other foreign currency in the world, which is a big step for Russia. And I hope it'll stay that way, because this month they are also introducing the digital ruble, right? And we all know what happens when a country introduces their own digital currency, the digital yuan. They kicked out all the miners and said, you are not allowed Bitcoin anymore. Hopefully in Russia that will not be the case. They will still allow that, but they are going to introduce their digital ruble. Even in Europe we had something like this, right? 3 months ago, there was this sound, somebody at the European Central Bank yelled, well, we don't need Bitcoin because it takes too much energy. We'd better ban all the mining. And maybe they are working on a digital euro. Yes, they are. So let's see how this digital ruble will find its way into the pockets of all the Russian people. and if they start trading with it. And one reason that Putin wants this is because when he still has Bitcoin and all the transactions in that digital currency, he can tax them. And it was already calculated that the tax return from these people using still using Bitcoin will be 23 billion US dollars. So that would be nice. Yeah, you can have a very nice party of that money. So there might be some other interests also which are counting for that. Okay, that's what's going on in the blockchain news. I'll see if there are any questions, and then after that we'll go to Peter Lagala. Okay, let's see if there are any questions in the chat. There was a small sound problem of a few seconds. I see people from Emmen even, and I see people from a lot further away, but I don't see any questions. That's good news, which means that I will be going to the next topic, and that will be Peter Lagala from Fluid Density. And we're going to switch over, and he will introduce himself, and after his talk we'll have a short Q&A. Remember, if you have any questions, put them in the chat, and we'll try to answer them. So we'll switch over to Peter now.
Okay, thank you, Adrie. Hello, my name is Peter Lagala, Peter in English. I'm one of the co-founders of the Fluid Density platform. Beside of that, I'm also startup coach and innovation coach at Novelty at the University of Twente. And today I talk about the concept of an NFT, and also what are you actually buying when you buy such an NFT. And it starts with the oldest profession in the world, and it is being an artist. An artist always been the most innovative persons of their era, because creating art, you need tools and materials, and they always use the newest tools and materials, like in this case, berry juice and sharp stone. And also Rembrandt, he created the night guard with the best paint he could find, the best canvas and brushes to create such an artwork. And he probably get the assignment for this artwork because photography was not invented yet, because these people wanted to have a kind of picture of themselves. And photography changed, of course, the whole art world. This is a photo taken from the River Rhine, somewhere outside Düsseldorf, by an artist, and he used Photoshop to remove here some buildings, here some people walking, and this is the artwork he created. And this was one of the first photographs that was sold for a huge amount of money at the auction house Christie's for over $4 million US. But in order to be able to deliver this digital image, he needed to print it and frame it, and it's now available in the Museum of Modern Art in New York, where you can watch it. Because if you would send it by an email or via the internet, well, it's subject to get copied, and that is not what we want. The internet and the whole technology nowadays, the world is becoming very small. And with all the modern technology that we have, I can take a photo with my smartphone. I can send the photo to someone else anywhere in the world, and this person receives an exact copy of that photograph with exactly the same amount of details, pixels, colors, etc. So I'm actually not just sending the photo, but I copy the photo to someone else. And that person can also copy my photo to someone else. And before we know, we have thousands of copies, and we don't know what is the original anymore. So the same is happening with music, with video, with spreadsheets, with email, with chats, with a lot of digital assets are copied around the internet. So the internet is one large copy machine. And that is one of the values of the blockchain. And we discovered that blockchain is not only suitable for the first application, Bitcoin, but we can exchange data in a totally new way. I don't go deep into the blockchain technology, but the core concept of the blockchain, it's based on a distributed ledger where not one central party is ruling, but everyone who's involved. Everything you put in there is permanent and immutable, cannot be changed anymore, not financial transactions, but also not art. There's trust provided by technology. It's transparent. Everyone who wants can have a look in a blockchain ledger and see what's happening over there. And also by the use of smart contracts, by putting computer code into the blocks, we create an unstoppable computer, a computer that's always there and where algorithms and computer code that we call smart contracts are executed guaranteed. So we can say what the internet is for information is the blockchain for value. And if we talk about NFTs, well, we talk about value. And an NFT, let's see what it is. It's a non-fungible token. A non-fungible token is a record stored on the blockchain that certifies both the digital asset is unique, but also the ownership of that asset. And digital these NFTs can be used to represent a digital asset, image, a video, and digital artwork, something digital. And each of these NFTs are different from each other. I come back on this. So we can use the NFTs to track and represent ownership of and also the authenticity, not only of digital assets, but also of physical assets, such as an artwork, a sculpture or something like this. And we will have a look into this. But first, let's see what is the F, the fungible part. If I have to pay, let's say, 500 euro to someone, and I use 50 euro bills, I peel out 10 of this stack and I give it. And it doesn't matter which of the 50 euro bills I choose, 50 euro is 50 euro and I can change them. These are fungible. And the same is applicable for a 6-pack of beer. You know, it doesn't matter which bottle of beer I pick, they're all the same and they have the same value. Same with a barrel of oil. And also valid for Bitcoin and for Ether. If I receive an Ether, it doesn't matter which Ether I receive, as long as I receive one Ether, and the same is for a Bitcoin, like money. It's different, for example, with this real estate property. These are houses in a certain neighborhood. They will more or less have the same value, but they are not fungible. You cannot say, okay, one house can be changed by another house because they have different neighbors. They have different interiors, state of maintenance, etc. So houses are unique. They are non-fungible. And the same goes for an artwork. An artwork is unique because an artist created it on some moment with some materials, and there's only one. A moment in time is also, you see here Tiger Woods on a golf court, and you can pay Tiger Woods to come to your golf court and do a swing on some hole, and that moment is unique. It has value, and there are already projects who capture a moment in time, like a moment on a golf court, into an NFT, or a shirt of a famous sports person with the sweat on it, with signatures of the team. It's not changeable. You cannot copy the sweat, you cannot copy the signatures. It's a unique piece that is non-fungible. And non-fungible items in the digital world, or NFTs, became popular also before CryptoKitties, but CryptoKitties brought it in the news. And these are digital cats, pre-programs. The genes of the cats were programmed in smart contracts, and you could breed new young kittens with new properties, and they inherited some of the genes, and there were a limited number of cats that could be breeded. And people easily paid over $100,000 for such a digital cat that you cannot touch, that you cannot pet, that you only can own. You can have a proof of ownership of such a cat. And the really breakthrough for NFTs came when the artist Beeple created a JPEG file, a collection of 500 other small images that he created every day one. 5,000 days, and that was sold for almost $70 million on a marketplace, on an auction house, by the way, Christie's. And that was really the moment that everyone's talking about NFT and what is it. And Well, that didn't change till then. Experiments were taken, not only digital art, like such a JPEG file, but a real, a tangible Banksy, physical art, was bought by a group of investors for over 250,000 British pound. And on video, it was burned. They burned real-life art, high-end art. That's something I'm not supporting, but it happened. It was captured on video, so the value of that artwork was transferred into a digital token, into an NFT, and the owner of that NFT has a proof that he owned what was a real painting in the past. And also beyond art, in fashion, in clothing, also in real estate and other environments, NFTs become popular because you can create a certificate of ownership on some asset, and it is not necessarily a digital asset. It's about value creation, and it's important to understand that what is the value? When do you create value? When something is unique, is non-fungible, and also the creator's profile is unique. When I, for example, create a JPEG file that is made of 5,000 other images and I put it on sale on a NFT marketplace, I guarantee you no one will pay 70 million US dollars for it. And if someone else it does with a certain artistic status like people pay. So it's about the creator and also the uniqueness. You can create NFTs, you can buy NFTs. And if you create NFTs, you have the sole copyright of the artwork you created. That copyright is owned by the creator and remains at the creator. The creator can create duplicates of work and create new work with it, can print it on t-shirts, can create another version of the work as an NFT and get royalties in return for that. Well, the buyer, the NFT buyer, is buying a license to display, one license to display. When I buy a physical artwork, I can hang it on the wall in my room, and I have one license to display. I'm not allowed to duplicate it or to change it and then make it duplicate. No, I buy it as it is, and I can hang it on the wall. And the same goes for an NFT. I can resell it also. I can resell it to someone else on an auction house, on a fair or door-to-door. And the same I can do with an NFT. I can buy NFTs, I can expose NFTs, one license to display, and I can also resell the NFT to someone else. So if I look to an NFT, it's important to understand that it's indivisible. That means I cannot sell or buy a fraction. I can buy a fraction of Bitcoin, of Ether, of a euro, a cent, but an NFT is one NFT and you cannot divide it into pieces. An NFT is related most of the time to rare objects because otherwise it doesn't create any value, and they are unique. An NFT is always unique, otherwise it's fungible if there are two exactly the same. And the uniqueness can be in a number. You can create multiple NFTs of the same object, but the numbering, the unique ID, makes it unique then, and that is happening in real life. There's ownership. There's always an owner of an NFT, and initially it's the creator, it's the artist. An artist creates an NFT, and it's the first owner of that NFT. So an NFT always has an owner, and it can transfer the ownership to someone else, and then the ownership changes, and via the blockchain, we can trace back who is the current owner, but also who are the previous owners. And the previous ownership can also be an indication for the value. It's different that if I owned an NFT or some famous movie star, or maybe the Queen of the Netherlands. That is a big difference in valuation. And in real life, tangible artwork, it's not that easy. But in the blockchain, we all know it's a piece of cake. And it's transparent. Everyone can trace the ownership, can look into blockchain explorers on Ethereum, for example, to see what is the status of a NFT, who owns it, and who doesn't mean that you always know what is the name, but at least to what a wallet or address it is owned and is it transferred. And interoperability is also important. If I buy an NFT on one marketplace, I own it. But if I'm only able to sell it on the same marketplace, I'm limited in what I can do. So there need to be some compatibility so that I can sell it also to other marketplaces and maybe outside marketplaces that I can transfer it to other persons without the marketplaces. It needs to be transferable and interoperable. And for that, we need standards. And there are, in the token world, different standards like the ERC20 token. It's a fungible token used for many STO offerings, security token offerings. And the ERC 721 standard, and ERC stands for Ethereum Request for Commands. It is something that came out of the Ethereum community. It's a definition on how to define a single non-fungible token. And a single non-fungible token, an ERC 721 token, is actually a proof of ownership, a certificate of ownership. And on the certificate, you can write, if it was paper, who's the owner, who was the previous owner, what do you own, and that kind of things. And that is also more or less defined in such a digital token. And an ERC 1155 is a new version of a token. It's more or less coming from the gaming world, combination of some non-fungible token and fungible information. You can have a batch of tokens inside one, but the core NFT is ERC 721 at this moment. And these tokens, as I said, it's a collection of standards, because you want to transfer them. You need to agree in the community, what do we write in this on the certificate? And that is an algorithm, it's software. And for every token, there's a definition of the software. I don't go into the code, but programmers can read a bit of this code, but every token has something coded. So an token, an NFT, is code. It's embedded in computer code and stored in the blockchain. It is not the artwork itself. An NFT is just a proof of the ownership of some digital asset or non-digital asset. Can be an artwork or a shoe or a famous signed t-shirt. To own these NFTs, it's good to have a facility to put them in, and that's what we call a wallet. Like you can own Ether and Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies into a wallet. In the same kind of wallets, we can store our NFTs because they are standardized tokens, and the wallet is storing both the private and the public key, and there you can own them. And all the stories of stealing NFTs or tokens is about stealing it from a wallet and not from a blockchain, because the blockchain is immutable. Thieves and hackers get sometimes access to a wallet, so it needs to be secured. You can also provide a signature with this wallet. You have the key to the NFT, the private key. And the same way I can prove the access to my house with the key, because I can put the key in my lock, open it, but don't go in, I close it again. But I can prove that the key is fitting and that I have access to the house. In the same way you can prove that you have access to the wallet, and you can use it as a signature. And if you go, for example, to a place like OpenSea, and you use MetaMask sometimes, by creating a profile, you need to sign this with your wallet, and that means stick in the key, show that it is working, and that's enough. You don't need to open really the wallet to it. So if you have goods, you have NFTs, you have a wallet, you can trade it on marketplaces. And this is a picture of a marketplace in Antalya, Turkey, where you can buy goods with tokens, and we call these tokens euro or US dollars, or like in Turkey, Turkish lira. And you can buy and you can sell, and the price to pay are tokens. And it's easy to go to a foreign country with some standards, foreign currency, and the same goes on a digital marketplace. And one of these marketplaces, one of the biggest, is OpenSea. And OpenSea is a place where you can create NFTs, you can sell them, you can buy them, you can also watch them, because you don't need to own an NFT in order to see it, to see the content. I see NFTs behind me, but you don't own them, you can see them. Like here, if I zoom in to one of these NFTs on OpenSea, this is an example costing almost 70 Ether. 70 sounds cheap, but this is at this moment over 200,000 US dollars. You can buy this picture on OpenSea. So someone, and this someone called Ace of Traders, created Crypto Cities, is the current owner, and offering this for 69 Ether. You can buy it there if you like this NFT, and then it's yours, it's transferred to your wallet. If I'm looking for, well, one of my favorite painters in the Netherlands is Peter Riesebos. Peter Riesebos is a very successful painter creating physical artworks. And if I look him up at OpenSea, I see at this moment that there are 16 items, 16 NFTs related to Peter Riesebos for sale. And since I'm a fan, I look into this and I see that this Game King series of Peter Riesebos is offered for 80 Ether, or 238,000 US dollars. But these are all fake. These are frauds, and Adri already talked about frauding. The problem of such marketplaces are that people can create NFTs very easily for a low amount of money. And money is in this case gas fee on Ether. But Peter Riesebos, and I discussed it with him, is not approving this. He complained about it, and this is all fake. And that is the problem on some marketplaces, that you never know what you're buying, because if someone buys this and thinks this is a real Peter Riesebos, well, it is not. And how can you find out? Once you bought it, you are the owner of this fake image that actually has not really value. The process of creating such NFTs is called minting. Like in old times, we minted coins in some minting workplace. You actually create a record in a blockchain, often Ethereum, but also others, as a proof of ownership. And you need to pay for that, and paying the price you pay is a gas fee. That is how Ethereum works. So minting an NFT has a cost. And the higher the value of the Ether coin is, the more you can pay. So sometimes you pay $500, $600, $700 or more to mint an NFT, and in other times before it was very low. So if you are offering art with a relatively low price in the art world of €1,000, €500 minting cost is quite a lot. If you sell an artwork for 250,000 US dollars or euro, you know, this is a relatively fair and low price. So it depends totally on the type of art you're working with. There are new concepts like on OpenSea. That's maybe also one of the problems there. That is called lazy minting. And lazy minting is a concept where you can offer art, where you create NFTs, but you're not really minting them now. You can pay for a collection, and I have also a collection on OpenSea where I do some experiments. I upload pictures and my own created pictures. I don't copy it from other artists, of course, and I mint them, but I don't pay gas fees because they are not really minted yet. They are not NFTs that you can store in a wallet. The moment someone is buying them, they pay the gas fee for you. So this is a very nice opportunity for artists who offer cheaper art, don't want to pay the minting fees up front because they don't know for sure if it is ever sold. And with that, you see that there are zillions of artworks offered on OpenSea, and they are all unique. They are all more or less rare, but they can also be fake and frauded, like the example of Peter Riesebos. So this lazy minting is a good thing, but it also attracts scams, and that is what you always will see in this kind of environments. So The NFT itself is not the art. The art you're buying is often a digital file, or it is pointing to some physical asset via a digital file, via a contract or something. And this needs to be stored somewhere. And if you store it on a central server or on your web server or the server of your company, it is centralized. Well, the whole blockchain concept is decentralized. So by using the IPFS, the Interplanetary File System protocol. It's a protocol with the properties of blockchain, decentralized storage, immutable storage, and you can combine the storage on an IPFS file system with a NFT transaction, and together this is the NFT. In the lazy minting situation, often the data is not yet in a file system, in the IPFS file system, but centralized. So that means that it can be changed, it can be deleted, it can be frauded. So a real good NFT is minted in the blockchain. A gas fee is paid, and the data, the corresponding data, is stored in an IPFS. In short, what we did with Fluid Density is building a platform, not a marketplace. Running marketplaces is also a legal thing where you bring buyers and sellers together. And if this has a high value, you need specific licenses and things. What we do, we offer artists and galleries to create NFTs, offer the NFTs they created on a marketplace like OpenSea, but also others, or to sell it on their own websites. A lot of artists have their own websites, and also for galleries to sell them in their gallery. You can have a gallery, a physical location where you walk in and where you have screens on the wall and showing specific NFTs that you cannot find anywhere else, and offer that to a specific audience. And also it's important that art, at the end we talk about art because we are art lovers, to expose it. And how do you expose digital art? Well, that is what you can do on digital screens. And companies like LG, Netgear, and also Samsung, this is a Samsung art gallery, I have it myself in my house, offering that you have a kind of really nice digital frame that you can use as a TV set. But if you switch it off, it becomes a artwork. And the content of the artwork, well, you can choose yourself. And on the last CES fair in Las Vegas, both Netgear and Samsung announced that they will support NFTs as art in their art frames. And this is a very nice way for both galleries and art collectors to show their portfolio of art. So what I think it's important in NFT projects and offerings, EUZone, under what jurisdiction are you buying art, and is it valid, and is it regulated or not? Is there a KYC, know your customer, or in our case, know your artist procedure? We are checking the passports and the identity of artists to be sure that the origin of art is valid. Also, upload of multiple files. You will see that on Rarible and on, for example, OpenSea, you can upload one digital file as being the artwork, a JPEG and video file, other files, but only one. If you want to expose digital, physical art, you want to turn physical art into an NFT, well, it can be a sculpture, it has a front side, but an artwork has also a back side. And paintings, they give a lot of information about the origin and the creation on the back side, notes from the artist and that kind of label. So we support multiple files connected to one NFT because we think it's important. Private label. We see also that a lot of artists and galleries want to work with their private label NFT environment, selling specific NFTs branded to the artist or branded to the gallery. Supporting physical art, I will show how we do this, how we turn physical art into NFTs, not by burning it, by the way. And we offer also the possibility not only to pay in Ether or Bitcoin, but also in fiat money like Euro. physical art into digital art. A physical artwork is, for example, a painting. A painting. If you buy a painting, you don't buy canvas with some paint. You buy a creation. And if you buy digital art, you don't buy some bits and bytes. You buy also a creation because someone ordered the bits and bytes into a certain order. There are specific high-end art scanners, brand of Cruiser from Germany. They do this in order to make a really high-quality digital scan of such an artwork, and we call this a digital twin. And a digital twin is one exact digital copy of a physical artwork. And the digital twin, you cannot see it, I think, totally on the screen, but it's no problem. We stored a digital twin together with other related files, a copy of the backside of the painting, a signed contract with the artist, etc., in IPFS. And based on these documents in the IPFS, this immutable file system, we create a record on, in our case, Ethereum and ERC 721. And together, this is the NFT that can be sold by the artist, by the gallery, and be exposed on digital frames in your house. The art market is huge for NFTs, 60-fold grow in the last year, 60-fold grow in 2021. That's huge. And also interesting to see is that it is not only initial sales, but that the secondary market. So if someone buys it for the first time, there is an owner, which is not the artist. But when this person is selling it, reselling it, we call it the secondary market. And the secondary market is quite big for these NFTs. So that's very interesting for both galleries and artists. So that's an overview I want to give about NFTs. What are you buying? What you are buying? Can you be certain that this was the artist? And thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Let me try to get you on screen. I have to push a few buttons, and I believe you can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you loud and clear.
Okay. That's the positive thing. I haven't seen many questions, but I have a few questions. You talked about fakes being sold, right?
Yeah.
Now, how do you check fakes? I mean, I see a picture. I don't know the artist personally like you do. So how do I check that?
Yeah, that's a big problem. It's hard to do this. So it's about the credibility of the person. It's important to know who created the NFT and not only who owns it currently. Because if you know the creator, and this creator is hiding themselves, like in the case of Peter Riesebos, I tried to find out who's behind it. And of course, you cannot find it out. That's already a signal that there might be something wrong. And in the similar case, as you mentioned, with the couple that stole a lot of Bitcoin, you know, the blockchain is immutable and you can always trace back what happened. And the same goes, of course, for NFTs. So what we try to offer is the guarantee that the artist is the artist and that also the artist approve the tokenization of its artwork. And I think that will be more and more important also for future marketplaces.
Okay, and you described the artist makes physical art, right? It's not like Beeple that he created 5,000 digital pictures. No, he creates physical art. You scan it, right, to make a digital representation of it. If you buy the NFT, do you also get the original?
Yeah, that's a nice question. No, because you buy, like an NFT, one license to display. So in case of the NFT, you buy the digital copy and only the right to display it. And the question is then, what will happen with the original? Who owns the original? That is dependent on the contract for that artwork. It can be that it stays the ownership of the artist. Also, we created a foundation where the art is governed by this foundation, owned by the foundation, and by contract, this art can never be resold again. What the foundation can do with the art is expose it for free in public places like museums or in, for example, government buildings, but it cannot be sold anymore because the value is transferred into the NFT. And what is possible is that it is burned, which I personally not supporting, but it happens these days. And the fourth option is that it still is a tradable artwork. So you can take a digital twin from an artwork, trade the NFT of it, but also trade the artwork itself. And then you have two versions.
Okay, so you can trade the NFT for the artwork. So you are getting the original, so to speak, but then you'll have to pay, although it has no value because it could not be sold. That's a bit of a paradox to me. You put it behind closed doors instead of burning. Maybe they can go to a museum, but to a museum it has only artistic value, no real value, because it cannot be sold. That's...
Well, the main function of a museum is to show art and not a commercial function to trade art. Although museums need to buy, to sell art, to have a dynamic collection. So museums have now the opportunity to receive artworks that they don't pay for because someone else paid for the NFT and they still have the option to expose it in their museum.
Interesting. Very interesting. Myself, I'm not a big artist, but I'm more looking at commercial applications of NFTs. So an NFT could be a representation of a membership of a club or whatever, right? And I have the right to sell that membership. It's a unique membership, and so there are lots and lots of applications where you can use NFTs outside of the artistic realm, but we are still in the beginning of this beautiful topic. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
That's great.
It's early stage, and much more will happen. So the tokenization concept will go on and go on beyond art, beyond real estate. Maybe it's possible to even tokenize people at the end.
Okay. Yeah. Very interesting. Tokenize people. You're going to put my DNA sequence in an NFT.
Well, look to sporters. Sporters, they already try to find sponsors, and we call it now sponsors. So if you NFT yourself and you sell copies of an NFT who are unique and scarce to persons who want to invest in you, and you can program in a smart contract that on a resale of an artwork or a resale of your NFT, you get royalties every time again. So it's a kind of sponsoring of sporters or maybe people who need it more than the owners of the money.
Super interesting. Okay, I don't see any big questions in our chat. So thank you, Peter. Then I'm going to switch you off the screen and I will go to Jeroen, and he's going to talk about DAOs, decentralized or distributed or potato, autonomous organizations.
DAOs, distributed autonomous organizations. They are distributed autonomous organizations. What does it mean to run your organization with code? My name is Jeroen Wester, and I'm happy to take you into my dive into DAOs. Well, DAOs are hot and happening. They are in the spotlights today. And usually when they are in the spotlights, speculation is nearby. So in this talk, we're going to dive into the concept of DAOs. What are they? What place do they take in the crypto space? And how they are built? How do you run them? And then, little spoiler alert, it's not that easy to encode the rules. We come to that topic later on in this presentation. Okay, to give you a small overview on what we're going to do. we are going to talk on a few examples of DAOs. Of course, we're going to do a definition, and even better, a classification. I love classifications. So there's a big space of all kinds of DAOs and how can you group them. Then we're going to look in the steps that you need in order to create a distributed autonomous organization. And we do a small outlook on what's going to happen with DAOs in the near future. Why this picture of a sword, an Asian sword? Well, a DAO is not an Asian sword, but I found on Wikipedia that it's also the word for an Asian sword. So, nice picture. Has absolutely nothing to do with this presentation. Where are we? Well, we are in the space. When we talk about DAOs, we are in the field of a dream, of course. And the dream is the dream of automating your company. Not running it by hand, but encoding all the governance rules in code and have an automatically running company. Sorry. One of the classic examples when you scan the internet is that you have a blockchain-based network that sells storage space, and it does it completely automatically. So it sells the storage space to customers. When it has not enough storage space, it buys new storage space, and all this is done automatically. And the dream, that's where the dreaming part is that this completely automated company takes care of every aspect of your organization. Well, cool, but dreams are usually not completely true. So that's also the case in this field of DAOs. Here you see an example, recent news, the Assange DAO. You might have come across the name of this man, Julian Assange. He's not French, but he is Australian, and he is a journalist, and even better, an internet activist, and he is famously known, or maybe not that famously, but for WikiLeaks. And since there is WikiLeaks, the US authorities would like to have a chat with him. He keeps running from the US authorities by sleeping on airports, diving into embassies, keeping below the radar. And he has done so for quite some time. But people fear for his legal life, you could say. And now there's this Assange DAO that is used to raise funds for legal fees that could be spent on protecting him. So friends of Julian Assange tried to raise money by having a DAO in place. There is a DAO token, the justice token, and this token you can buy the token. By buying this token, funds are raised for these legal fees, but these funds are also could be used by buying a NFT token, the censored NFT token. The whole process in this DAO is more or less automatically. I haven't dived into too much detail, but some things are automated in this. So the objective of this DAO is to raise money. That could be used for a specific purpose. In this case, legal fees in the connection with Assange. Okay, now another example. A football-centric DAO. CO92. In '92, there was a famous Manchester team. You see two football players here, Neville and Scholes, but also Beckham was part of this the class of '92. And now there is this this idea to create a DAO that could be used to raise money to invest in soccer, in football, we would say. And the idea is that for people who invest in this DAO, that they will make profit. They will make profit together. And here you see that famous football players are used to seduce people to step into this DAO. This might be a DAO that would raise some eyebrows. Is it really decentralized? Will the fans that step into this DAO really have the possibility to invest in soccer-related or football-related teams or events? I'm not sure. I didn't dive into it too much, but when you look at the DAOs, you see a couple of times a week, you see these kinds of ideas pop up. Okay, a few examples now. Okay, let's try to see what a DAO is. Let's try to see that. Okay, a lot of definitions. I think what stands out is that it's a way of organizing, of creating a company or organization that is run on code. And the nice idea of this, but also the very complicated ideas, is that you have to take a completely new management principle. And this management principle is that you have to think in advance what would happen in this organization, and that you also have to think in advance what your response will be. So, and when you have this governance in place, you can encode it in smart contracts, and then once implemented, deployed, you will have a company that could be run on its own. Without having any hierarchical management. That's in almost all the definitions that you read. So there is no hierarchy, or in crypto terms, it's completely decentralized. Maybe it's not that completely decentralized. That depends on the governance principle that is implemented in the DAO, and that can be very different. So one takeaway is, okay, when you want to step into some DAO, have a look at these governance principles before you step in, so that you can see how decisions are made in this DAO. Okay. It has a number of features. It likes to be transparent so that you can see what's going on. So all the members who have voting rights in this DAO can see what's going on in the DAO. There's an explicit governance. We talked about that. That's the new governance principle, the new management principle. You have to think of things in advance. And very good, there's an underlying financial structure. So that means that there is money available to do the things that meet the goals of this organization, of this DAO. Okay, it's pretty abstract. Let's give you a few examples in the form of this classification. Here you see DAO initiatives clustered, grouped by a number of criteria. For instance, investment DAOs, or service DAOs, social DAOs. They refer to the application area that they are oriented at. Let's pick a few out to show to you what's going on there. Aave, or Avi, I don't know how you pronounced it, but it's in the category of grants or lending crypto. So the idea is that you can go to this initiative, to this DAO, and you say, okay, I want to lend a sum. Normally you go to the bank, The bank does some background check to see if you if they can lend money to you. But now this is done automatically in the form of a smart contract. So this is an example of disintermediation of banks, or the bank is cut out here. So people put money in Aave. They get Aave tokens for that money. They can use that for voting in this DAO. And customers can lend money from Aave. There is a collateral here that when you want to lend money, you need to have as a collateral other crypto tokens. And there is over collateralization here. That means because these crypto values, they tend to be very volatile, you have to, your collateral has to be bigger than the amount of money that you lend. 12.5 billion US dollars are lent in this, is in the value of Aave at this time. A considerable amount of money, of course. Another one, Aragon. When you want to start a DAO yourself, you want to take a look at the DAO operating system initiative. And Aragon is one of them. So actually, this is a tool to build your own DAO. It has a step-by-step interface. And around 1900 DAOs are built with this tool. And you can have a DAO for minutes when you look at these kind of tools. All you need is some crypto and a wallet. And you connect that wallet, you make some decisions, you do the steps, and then off you go. You're there. But maybe before you do that, you want to watch this complete presentation. And this is an interesting one, Kraus House. And the idea of this DAO is that it's in the category of social things. So people together do something. And the idea is, well, we are all NBA basketball fans, and why shouldn't we own a basketball team? And owning sports teams in football or in basketball is, of course, the privilege of the very rich. But if you're not that rich and you can combine forces with other people, maybe you can do the things that now are exclusively for the very rich people. That's the idea of Kraus House. Bring a fan-governed team to the NBA. It's a charming initiative. They tend to break down their work packages. They're not that far. There is no fan-owned or fan-governed team in the NBA yet. They are working on that. But they break down their work packages in seasons. I think that's to stay close with the terminology that fans use, of course. And they are now in season 2. And they are experimenting with governance systems. There is a governance token, of course, in mind. Already there, I don't know that. And it's a Kraus token. When you own that token, that's also the money that you put into this initiative. Then you also have the voting rights to do things within this DAO. Okay. What steps do you need to do in order to create a DAO? And we're going to demonstrate that with a fake initiative, the EAL, Enormous Art Lovers Initiative. But the things that you need to do is that you need to decide on the objective of your DAO. You need to have some clear objective, what you want to achieve. The next thing is you need to find and build a community of people that want to be part of your DAO. In many initiatives, that means that you need to find investors, actually people that put money into your DAO. The third thing is that you need to understand what rules apply in your DAO, what governance, how are things sorted out in your DAO. And then after finishing step 3, you need to encode these rules, these governance measures into code. You deploy that code and then you're ready. Now imagine that my enormous art lovers project, EAL DAO, wants to invest in NFT art, and preferably in 17th century paintings like the one you see on this slide. And the objective of my DAO is that I want to have funds to invest in a new NFT art. And of course, I also want to make profit from selling NFT art that has raised in value. And I think, okay, now it's good to sell that. This is a fair objective. I think there are many initiatives that have more or less the same kind of objective. Okay, what should we do now? Okay, I have to find a community. I have to find a community for my enormous art lovers DAO. So I write down a plan and I share that plan on social and websites or whatever mediums I can find to share it. And I do some announcement that I'm planning this and I'm going to go live, and I try to find friends. Hopefully I'm already a famous name in this world so that people can come to me. And you see other initiatives use famous people here that play the role of seducer. They try to convince other people, so this is very valuable. You have to step in right now, because when you do, you will be prosperous or whatever people do, these kind of things. I think it's hard to find a good community that shares your vision. So probably it takes some time to go successfully complete this step. And the third step is, okay, I need to have a governance plan for my DAO. And this is usually the part where the funny or tricky stuff can come in. So remember that a lot of these crypto initiatives try to be socially aware, decentralized, doing good for all the community members. But when you look at my plan here on this slide, you can see that bullet 2 and 4 are not so decentralized. It means that in my governance plan, you see that the people who have a lot of EAL tokens can start a vote, but people who have a low amount of tokens, they cannot start a vote. So they are not really part of the management. And 4 means that if you own a lot of stake into this a DAO, you have a better influence on what happens, what is the outcome of the voting process. Sorry. So when you look at DAOs, you need to carefully observe what kind of governance plans is present in a DAO. Okay. The last one is that you, in order to buy pictures like NFT pictures like the one here on this slide, you need to find somebody who can implement the rules that you have created during the previous step. And then you also need to take care that when it is implemented, that you check and recheck if the implementation has really taken place according to the plans that you created in step 3. And then you deploy the whole thing, and then you're actually good to go. Okay. Small outlook for DAOs. Can't see it on the Gartner hype cycle yet as a separate entity, but so if I would guess it's strongly connected to smart contracts, and I think it will have a larger adoption when the application space of smart contracts is better understood than it does right now. Right now, people see it for rather simple things, but when we see what smart contracts can really do, I think DAOs or automatically running companies, organizations will have a big uptake. So I think it's somewhere where the arrow points in the hype cycle is going up. You see more airtime for the whole concept of DAOs, but really it's not that far in application right now. Okay, there are some remarks to make. Here is the remark is, okay, everything in the digital domain is relatively easy. That means that when you have to do things that are completely digital and that you can completely have access to in the digital domain, then you can imagine that you can really encode that in rules. Crossing the border between digital and the physical domain, that's harder to do. So the example is, okay, now I gave you the example of buying NFTs of paintings. Now imagine that you have a DAO that buys or owns or sells a real painting. That would be harder to do so. Then you need some mechanism that you can take information, data that is collected in the physical world and put that into the digital world. In the crypto space, there is this the idea of oracles that provide smart contracts with data that comes from the physical domain and is used for smart contract execution. Okay, and this is the last slide. What does it mean to run an organization with code? Well, as I said, as I told you during this presentation, you need to be very explicit on the governance within your organization. In a normal organization, persons interpret the rules, and their interpretation makes up for things that the rules don't completely cover. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing. That depends on how the interpretation is done. Within an automatically running organization, you cannot have that interpretation. You could say, okay, yeah, you can create new rules or change the rules. But when you change the rules or make new rules, then you have a completely new organization. And it is only the question whether people that already invested in your DAO will still have the same amount of trust in your DAO as they had before when you changed the rules. So it's not just a thing of doing, okay, then we change the rules and we have a different DAO. No, you probably have to stick to the rules that you already have. These DAO rules, rule sets are also limited to the digitally verifiable conditions, like a price of an asset or the number of something. And it's harder to have conditions that it's very hard to have conditions that are not digitally verifiable, like things that happen in the real world. How can you verify them within your smart contract? So that reduces the application space of DAOs. Well, this is the end of my presentation. I hope you found it worth listening, and hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.
DAOs are super interesting, but I think they are super hard also. I heard that there are only about 300 to 400 successful DAOs in the world at the moment. I mean, there are probably lots of DAOs being made, but which ones over time are successful and without changing? And they are evolving. I saw a remark in the chat where a sort of similar experience was portrayed. It's hard. Okay, I don't see any other questions. which means I have to go to the next screen. Of course, I have to thank Peter Lagala and Jeroen Wester for their contribution, their presentation. Even I learned a lot today. I always learn new things about NFTs and a lot of new things about DAOs. Our next meetup will be at March 17th in exactly 4 weeks. I have to be a real YouTuber and ask you to hit all kinds of buttons and subscribe, etc. So the Google search algorithm will find us when people are Googling for Bitcoins and blockchains and Ethereums and what else is needed. We are going to go to our Kumo space. I will put the link to that in the description. So maybe if you have any questions for Jeroen about DAOs or me or Peter or whatever, I don't know if he's coming, but we'll see. And I'll meet you there in Kumo space of BlockchainLab Drenthe. If you have any remarks, if you have any tips of what we should do differently in this live stream, then please share them with us. And I will hope to see you next time and in our live stream of BlockchainLab Drenthe.